Most people watched this chaotic charity broadcast and moved on to the next political spectacle. Nobody caught the specific, orchestrated trap that actually snapped shut in the final 9 minutes. By midnight, 12 different angles of the confrontation had been ripped from the broadcast and flooded every major social media platform. By morning, the network's switchboards were completely overloaded by viewers, demanding a full replay of the unedited feed. By the following week, the moment had transcended politics entirely, becoming a masterclass in how to verbally dismantle a bully on live television. All of it started because one man assumed his volume could overpower 70 years of unshakable stage presence. The atmospheric pressure inside the massive auditorium feels entirely wrong for a star-studded gala, the air hanging heavy, thick, and undeniably electric. The brilliant stage lights push 2 stops brighter than rehearsal, washing the main platform in an unforgiving, clinical white that bleaches the warmth from the front row. Cher is already seated at the secondary interview podium, her posture perfectly still, her eyes scanning the room with the quiet, absolute control of an apex predator entirely comfortable in her domain. The floor director stands in the shadows stage left, his headset pushed half off his ear, realizing the standard run of show has been quietly shredded by the production booth. There is no background music, no gentle hum of industry chatter. The complete absence of sound acts as a suffocating physical presence. Donald Trump's entrance is an exercise in claiming physical territory, his walk deliberate, slow, and heavy as he moves toward the center spotlight. He pauses just behind his designated chair, aggressively adjusting the lapels of his suit in a purely theatrical display of dominance before finally sitting down. The moment he sits, he spreads his arms wide over the armrests, physically expanding his footprint to own every possible inch of the camera's frame. His eyes lock onto Cher with a flat, unwavering superiority, a gaze designed to shrink her presence in her own industry's stronghold. He leans immediately toward his microphone, delivering his opening line with a smirk heavily disguised as casual observation. "I was told I was walking into a room full of A-listers, but it looks like they had to dig through the bargain bin of the 1970s to find someone willing to share a stage with me." He launches directly into a relentless verbal barrage, stacking his attacks in a deliberate rhythm designed to overwhelm the acoustic space. "Without me sitting in this chair, this entire broadcast wouldn't even register a blip on the network ratings, and everyone in this room knows it," he projects, his voice echoing sharply off the ballroom's acoustic paneling. He pivots seamlessly to a deeply personal dismissal, waving a hand toward Cher while calling her just another fading, overrated relic desperately clinging to a microphone because she lacks the intellect to understand real power. He claims total authority over the environment, loudly reminding the silent room that he dictates global conversations, runs economies, and controls the very outcomes of the industries trying to judge him. People tune in because they want absolute winners, and quite frankly, there is nobody else on this stage who even knows what winning looks like anymore, he concludes, crossing his arms definitively. Through this entire onslaught, Cher stays completely, terrifyingly silent. She simply watches him, her expression an unreadable mask of absolute calculation. A prominent record producer in the third row nervously adjusts his collar, the collective tension in the room becoming a physical weight. The silence stretches out, turning Trump's booming rhetoric into a hollow echo chamber of his own profound insecurity. Then, Cher finally moves. She leans forward, resting her elbows gently on the podium, and when she speaks, her voice drops significantly lower, devoid of any theatrical pop star projection. That was a performance, and it was convincing, but performances end, and this conversation is just starting. The auditorium instantly goes dead quiet, the air freezing in the lungs of every single attendee. The massive production screen behind them flickers to life, bypassing the gala's glossy graphics package to play a raw, unedited clip of Trump, completely failing to answer a basic geopolitical question at a recent press conference. It is a moment his team had previously spun as a minor miscommunication, but displayed here in stark, high-definition silence, it lands like a physical blow. Cher does not raise her voice. She simply asks a devastating question about how a man claiming absolute strength panics when separated from a teleprompter. Trump immediately leans into his microphone, loudly denying the context of the video and calling it doctored, fake news manufactured by a failing network. Cher counters calmly, letting his denial hang in the dead air for a brutal 5-second pause before she quietly signals the control booth. A low murmur ripples through the back rows, a collective realization that the pop icon is not backing down a single inch. Cher reaches slowly beneath the podium, moving with the deliberate precision of a surgeon operating on an exposed nerve. She places a plain plain manila folder on the polished surface, opening it to reveal certified transcripts of his closed-door donor speeches, highlighting the exact moments he admitted to manipulating the working class for pure applause. Trump's hand shoots across the desk, an instinctual grab for the documents. Cher stops him effortlessly, placing her palm flat and firm against the center of the folder. The tight camera angle catches the sudden, uncontrollable tremor vibrating through Trump's extended fingers. The screen behind them shifts again, displaying a meticulously documented timeline connecting the dates of his disastrous press conferences to sudden, massive dumps of campaign funds designed to bury the news cycle. Trump tries to talk over the visual evidence, his voice rising in pitch as he dismisses the timeline as a desperate partisan hoax. Cher slows her cadence down even further, forcing the room to absorb the sheer weight of the verified numbers. The tension in the ballroom is so thick it feels actively dangerous. A raw audio recording suddenly overrides the house sound system. It is a backstage capture of Trump from the night of a major rally, his voice stripped of the microphone's equalization, bragging about how easily the crowd swallowed his unscripted, incoherent rambling. The audience is physically hit by the recording, a collective, sharp intake of breath vibrating through the tables. Trump shouts that the audio is illegally obtained and heavily spliced by deep state operatives. Cher does not argue. She simply displays the digital forensic verification from an independent acoustic lab on the main screen, proving the file is entirely, unequivocally, unaltered. A door near the stage-left curtain opens, and two individuals walk slowly into the spotlight. The first is a former event coordinator, a young man whose testimony is entirely procedural, detailing how he was ordered to artificially inflate the crowd sizes by locking the exit doors during the rambling speeches. "I rehearsed walking away 6 times in the parking garage before I finally found the courage to quit," the coordinator admits, his voice shaking but remarkably controlled. Trump aggressively attacks the young man's credibility, yelling that he was fired for incompetence and is simply looking for a quick book deal. The coordinator absorbs the verbal assault by standing perfectly still, his silence magnifying Trump's absolute desperation. Then, the second witness steps to the microphone. She was a senior communications assistant, a woman forced to draft the initial cover-ups while under the suffocating weight of a strict non-disclosure agreement. Her testimony is emotionally devastating, detailing the intense isolation and the profound personal cost of enforcing a public lie just to protect a fragile ego. Her throat works visibly before the words finally come, her fingers gripping the microphone stand until her knuckles are entirely colorless, a tear slipping down her cheek without her wiping it away. Trump leans forward, his face flushed dark red, shouting that she is a traitor betraying the loyalty of the inner circle. The assistant looks directly at him, her voice breaking but laced with absolute titanium. "Fear doesn't age well. It turns into something heavier, and I'm done carrying it." The audience does not cheer or scream. They break. One person in the front row stands up, clapping slowly. Another joins. Within seconds, the room is consumed by a slow, deliberate wave of applause, not for the pop star, but for the truth finally breathing in the open. The main screen splits in half, displaying the domestic campaign timeline on the left, and on the right, matching internal emails sent from an encrypted, foreign-hosted server detailing the exact strategy to distract from his intellectual shortcomings. The alignment is absolute and undeniable. Trump's denials shift frantically from screaming fake news to yelling that the servers were illegally hacked by foreign enemies, a desperate pivot that exposes the sheer naked panic beneath his anger. His physical collapse unfolds across multiple, undeniable channels. His breathing becomes heavily audible, his chest rising and falling in rapid, shallow bursts that the lapel mic picks up clearly. His hands, previously gripping the table, begin wiping frantically at the sweat pooling along his hairline. His posture slumps inward, his broad shoulders stiffening and shrinking as he leans away from the visual evidence on the massive screens. His eyes dart aggressively around the room, refusing to settle on Cher, the witnesses, or the cameras, eventually going completely, terrifyingly blank. His jaw clenches so tightly the muscle jumps, working side to side in a silent, grinding panic. His verbal progression spirals from confident denial to accusing Cher of an illegal ambush, dropping into a procedural complaint about network rules, attempting a weak burst of bravado about his poll numbers, and finally landing in total, absolute silence. Cher looks at him, her expression entirely neutral. "If everything I've shown tonight is a lie, then show the truth, not with insults, with evidence." Trump opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. The aftermath escapes the auditorium like a controlled detonation. Backstage, a veteran floor director stands completely frozen, his headset hanging halfway off his ear as he watches the monitors in stunned disbelief. Trump's lead communications aide is seen typing so frantically on his phone that autocorrect sends pure nonsense to the press pool for 3 straight messages. Trump storms down the exit corridor without a single word to his detail, moving the way a man moves through a house he knows is already engulfed in flames. Within 8 minutes, the first unauthorized clip hits the internet. Within 20 minutes, the confrontation is segmented into 12 independent pieces, each spreading at viral velocity. Cable news networks immediately cut into their primetime programming, their graphics departments frantically rebuilding the timeline with red arrows and annotations. Anchors replay the confrontation, allowing Cher's thematic anchor word to sit on the screen for a full segment without adding their own commentary. Trump's counterattack begins hours later in a series of escalating rage posts, the capital letters increasing and the exclamation points multiplying with every single update. Yet beneath every frantic denial, users reply with screenshots of the exact campaign emails, proving the inventory of his lies. The public shift is instantaneous. People are no longer debating the politics of the press conference. They are dissecting the psychology of a man whose entire facade shattered on live television. The assistant's testimony about fear becomes a global caption, trending worldwide as the definitive summary of the night. Hours after the broadcast, a major news network receives an anonymous communication from a former campaign data analyst, verifying the foreign server emails on matching letterhead. Short, clinical, and devastating, the letter confirms the exact dates of the distraction strategy, stating that maintaining the silence is no longer ethically possible. The network verifies the letterhead against public records, leaving no room for a quick dismissal. The story keeps burning slow, a fire that cannot be contained by late-night tweets or legal threats. Because an inventory of lies only holds until someone finally decides to count the cost. The people who subscribe to this channel don't come for drama. They come for the moments nobody else is willing to show. Join them, subscribe, turn on notifications. The next truth is already on the table.